God is moving. It's Young People Nation.
Welcome to Young People Nation. Listen to us weekly as we commit to bring transparency, healing, and truth to the everyday situations in life that might bring you down. Join us for your weekly dose of inspiration. Thank you for listening to Young People Nation. Make sure you subscribe so you never miss an episode. And now, here's your host, Eugene and Donna Perry.
Let's go. Christ is the foundation. Know his word gon' lead us. Know I'm already going. Taking steps I believe in. Giving guidance to the youth. Giving guidance to the lost. Giving the world to the project. Lead them back to the cross.
Good morning and welcome to Young People Nation. Today we'll be dealing with counseling youth and young people. Today we have Miss Nally Bryant, licensed clinical social worker, owner of Restoring Harmony Counseling and Pearls. Well, welcome, Miss Nally. How are you doing today?
I am fine. How are you today?
Doing great, and it's excellent, and we are honored to have you on this platform.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, ma'am, to bring awareness for our young people.
Absolutely.
Now, we're going to be talking about counseling youth, young people. Mm-hmm. In your line of work, mm-hmm. What is the process when a young person reach your office? They have been to the teacher where we dealt and been to the teacher where we dealt with the bullying. Mm-hmm. They've been to the teacher, the school counselor. Now they're at your desk.
Okay, so usually a parent is reaching out to me in regards to some assistance for their teen. We definitely have to fill out all of the paperwork, the HIPAA compliance forms, things like that, and even a release of information for sharing of information. If there's something going on in a school that they need, if that child, depending on each person is different, if they have an IEP, if there needs to be a response to the school or something like that, just that there can be a conversation. Even with parents, depending on the age of the teen, mm-hmm. There needs to be a release of information if anything is to be shared outside of that. But once they come into practice, we do a brief assessment. And really, I start off with asking them, just tell me what's been going on with you. And mm-hmm. we have a dialogue. I don't make it extra formal or feel very stiff, because children definitely don't respond to that. They mm-hmm. respond to you kind of being able to pivot, go with the flow. A lot of the times when you're dealing with teenagers, if you have kind of like vibing music, or if you're into art, or if you are kind of into something creative, they tend to open up a little bit more. And mm-hmm. Once they get to a place where they feel like they can trust you or build a rapport with you, then everything just comes out. But that rapport building takes time.
Okay.
What I like about the whole process is mm-hmm. if you can't pray it out, they can come talk to you. Mm-hmm. And when they come talk to you, they can be honest and don't have to put that facade mm-hmm. of like a like they in a counselor's office and all. They can be themselves.
Well, you know what? Every person is different. I find with therapy, a lot of times, initially, people are fearful because they don't know what therapy looks like, and there's been a stigma about therapy. A lot more people are talking about it, but a lot of times there's fear to open up and trust you with my stuff.
I know myself. I know me and my wife go to counseling, mm-hmm. and one of the stigmas I have was I thought I'd be laying on the couch, uh-huh. Looking up and examining, and everything I say is recorded and to be used against you later in a court of law.
Oh no! I mean, honestly, there isn't really your information is confidential unless you're a harm to yourself or others, if there are records subpoenaed by the court. And even in that, not everything word for word is shared. You are supposed to protect your client unless there is kind of a need to know, and there is something legal or there's a danger, or if there's an abuse, a vulnerable population like children, I include elderly and developmentally delayed in my in my speech also. So there is confidentiality, so that's pretty good.
Yeah. Well, I also like about, it's not the stereotype of the Sigmund Freud
Yes.
type of represented, like the doctor sitting there with the glasses on, and the next thing you know, you are textbook and characterized and all.
That's true. I think people like when you have a conversation with them and you're not kind of speaking over their head. And
correct.
a lot of times when people see me, especially with telehealth, if they have not researched me before or whatever, a lot of people do research, which is fine. But a lot of times, like I've worked on platforms and I've literally had people, when the camera come on, like women start crying because they're like, oh my God, I have a Black counselor. That's a big deal for a lot of people of color. So it is also a big deal for kids. I had a history where I worked for this agency that dealt with children in New York. And this little girl was in the foster care system in this agency. They did counseling for them. And she saw me and she just kept looking at like my jewelry, and she reached out and she touched it. And, she was a younger teen, and just sitting there and talking. And she disclosed a lot of abuse that she'd never told anyone. And she'd been in the system for years. But because I looked like her, she was like, okay, I can tell her.
And I want to ask you on that point, how do you, because I believe there's an atmosphere that's set, or a aroma or an appearance that you feel a person would feel safe with you. Now, for the short time I've known you, you do walk in that. Your appearance is, I can talk with you. Yeah. So what type of atmospheres do you find yourself? And I know depending on the child.
Yeah, you know what, and that really, it's what they give me, I try to give back. I try to meet each person where they are. So I have kids who come in really, really tough, and they'll be really kind of like their vernacular or the way they speak is absolutely Ebonics or whatever. And then when I speak and say something and it doesn't sound like it's from here, they're like, where are you from? I'm like, Brooklyn. I'm like, you from Brooklyn? And that opens up a conversation.
Yeah.
Or they may come in and they may hear music. It could be trap music. It could be rap music.
Yes.
It could be gospel. And they'd be like, you listen to this? And I'll be like, yeah. Well, I can't listen to it.
Yeah.
So, or it could be art, or it could be, it's something. They usually try to find something, or I try to find something of familiarity. If I see that they're looking at a piece of art, or I see that they are vibing to music, sometimes it's cell phone games. Sometimes it just depends what it is.
And that's awesome, because what you're doing, if I'm hearing you correctly, is that you study the individual that you're counseling, and you adapt to what works for them.
Absolutely.
And that's powerful.
Yeah.
Because that's like why a podcast exists. Because God has many ways.
Yes.
We just have to be open to these ways. That's awesome.
Well, you totally take that stigma off that you owe. I ran into that a lot. Dealing with young people, it'd be like you're the old generation. I can't talk to you and all like that, and then you'd be like, you know who Snoop is, you know who the regular artist is, and all like that, and they feel comfortable with you.
Absolutely. When I and I'm older than I look, so a lot of times my hair is sometimes in like two pigtails. It just depends. It may have colors in it.
Yeah.
And they'll be looking at me like, okay, I don't know about her, and we'll start talking, and then they're just like, oh, she's kind of cool, usually, especially if they get to speak as they want to speak and not feel like they have to be proper or whatever. Even if cuss words slips out or whatever, I'll be like, hey, you can express yourself. I'll let some slip, but keep it to a minimum. But
correct.
If they feel like, okay, I can say what I feel, it usually tends to kind of flow a little better.
You also do assessment with adults. Is it different with young people?
I feel like it's different only because I think with teens, you have to be just a smidge more creative. But I can tell you, I've had some challenging adults too. So, it really just depends on how open that person is to counseling, so them coming in and talking to me. And I think a lot of times they feel a little comfortable because I talk to them just like I'm talking to you.
Yes.
It's not like, hey, what is this? And, talking about theories. And I don't do that. If I'm talking about an intervention or I'm explaining a theory, I bring it to such layman terms that they can understand what it is I'm talking about.
Have you had sessions where emotionally you were pulled in perhaps by something you experienced, and how did you separate those personal emotions from the situation?
Yeah, in therapy we have transference and countertransference, and a lot of times for therapists we have to recognize and own our own stuff. You understand? And sometimes that can be a little bit challenging depending on the client. But if you find that there is a real transference, counter-transference situation, definitely you can talk to a supervisor. Like, you always have a mentor, supervisor, a therapist in your back pocket as a therapist. You're not an island. So
that's good.
So, you definitely do have conversations and feedback about scenarios and how to progress if you feel like you've gotten stuck.
Because the counselor, I'm sure, with all that's deposited or emptied out on you, you have to go somewhere and get counseling yourself.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. I love that therapist.
That's the beauty of that, is to humble yourself and say, you know what? I need to go over there, make an appointment.
Yeah. No, I call my guy. I'll be like, hey, Doc, I need you. And he's like, all right, come on, let's talk about it. And that's what we do. So, we as therapists, you always want to make sure that your therapist is seeing a therapist.
That's good.
I always tell people with therapy, therapists are like shoes. If it doesn't fit, find another pair. And so if it's not a great fit, just find a different therapist. You're the consumer. And sometimes we feel like we have to be stuck with the person that we have, but that's not the truth. If it's not a good fit, and even for me as a clinician, if I feel like it's not a good fit, I'm like, okay, I don't know. We can try it 2 or 3 sessions, see how it goes. And if it's still not vibing, I'll be like, would you like me to refer you out? And I'll give a referral list and let them know.
That's good. That's good.
The Bible talks about even a rock can cry. Everyone needs help.
It's true.
And no one is to a point where they're perfect, and no one is to a point where they don't need some kind of someone to talk to. And in therapy, it seems to be an answer there.
Yeah.
That you can actually talk to a real person and not be a check block.
True. I mean, with the way society is, everything is becoming automated. And what I do love about therapy is you do get to speak to a person. Hopefully they won't replace us with AI in the future, but you do get to talk to a person. I do think that we struggle with sharing and opening up and being vulnerable because we fear looking weak or looking broken or looking like we aren't enough. And especially when it comes to people who go to church, a lot of times in church, they'll tell you, pray it out and talk it out. And you didn't put it on the altar and you didn't do this or that or whatever. But there are some things that are spiritual, but there are some things that are natural.
That's right.
And, the Bible says, give unto Caesar what's due him. If in the land you need help, medicine with medication management or therapy, or you have diabetes or you have a heart condition or whatever, you're going to go to a doctor.
Correct.
So why wouldn't you do so for the health of your mental space?
That's like Dr. Austin that we had on the podcast about depression. She believes in the CPR remedy. If you can't cast out, pray it out, refer it out. Right. And so I really believe that even my husband and myself had to come to this.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes you're so busy, and I know we're kind of getting off the kids a little bit, but we're going to go there. But you get so busy, and then you look and you're like, where am I at? Hold
Exactly.
it. Who am I?
Exactly.
So you have to stop. And I believe that by we as adults going on and going forward, then we teach our young people that
Absolutely.
this is a good route to go, especially when they see the change in you.
Absolutely. Modeling is a big deal for kids. You know, a lot of times parents say, don't do as I say, not as I do. But a lot of our learning with children, even coming up, how we parent, how we engage the environment due to attachment and culture, that's what you grow into.
Yes.
You know, those traumas, those experiences, all those things color the lens of how you engage others in the world. So if they see you normalizing something like going to counseling or talking about interventions, or even just the way you handle situations, because they are going to grow into doing those very same things.
Yes.
And I find that no matter how far people try to stray left or right from, I'm never going to be like that, or I'm going to be just, you end up doing almost exactly the same
Isn't that something?
things. Yep.
And so some of our children, perhaps where they have seen bullying as in spousal abuse, they end up exemplifying that same energy and attitude out in the community.
Absolutely. You know, it's power. It's a power play. And a lot of times when you're a person that has no control, or you don't have power in a lot of situations, and you see you can exert that power onto someone else and get that feeling of, oh, I got this, or, you know, this is mine, and you can control a dynamic and make you feel powerful, that becomes addicting to teens, because they'll feel like, you know, people have to respect me. They have to hear me. They have to, you know, because I'm, you know, doing that. But a lot of times, most bullies have been people who are broken, vulnerable, have been in abusive situations. They've been beat up. And it doesn't matter, like, from bullying to sexual abuse in our kids all kind of stem from the same things. They've come from places, you know, most victims of even sexual abuse have been abused, whether they're the offender or the victim. So, you know.
So sometimes these, and I share with my husband that I'm learning when I see a young person, I don't immediately know more going to, you know better than that, such. You've got to get to the root of why that person feel it's okay to do that. And
really and truly, you don't know if they know better than that.
Correct.
You know, they may never have learned that that is inappropriate.
Yes.
You know, they may have learned that that is appropriate. It's just like even us being an adult. If you're in a relationship with an abusive partner because that's comfortable, because you saw abuse as a sign of love growing up in your household, you don't know any different that that's not love, you know, until you get into societal norms and you start to see things. But if that's what you see and identify as love, guess what? Even if you find someone who's peaceable and not abusive, you may find yourself being a perpetrator by instigating fights and all that stuff, because that was a level of comfortability for you.
How often do the school reach out to you?
For me, not much. More parents.
Okay.
You know, I get primarily parents who reach out to me when they're having some issues with their teens, or grandparents, because a lot of grandparents are guardians. But pretty often I get a lot of referrals, if not through phone call, through Psychology Today, which is a referral source. So because I'm listed on Psychology Today, or Therapy for Black Girls, or Clinician of Colors, or Black Therapist Rock, if it shows I'm accepting clients and they feel like I'm a good fit, they'll reach out.
Yes, you come highly recommended, because I've had a couple of parents talk to me about their young people, and I reach out to very known therapists.
Okay.
And when they're young people, they say, oh, Natalie Bryant.
Oh my goodness gracious!
So your character, your name goes before you. That's great.
It's
That's
that
great.
teen church. They won't let me go. I'm like, listen. Oh man.
And just like we've been discussing, a lot of our young people in church, they need help. And even like my husband and I, what we learned a lot later with our daughters, that when they were saying they had situations, we were the parents that was like, oh, we're going to pray for you and you're going to be okay. Yeah. But then later in life, you saw what was going on, and we're very grateful that they took the initiative to seek out mental help.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Listen, I'm going to tell you, teaching teen church has been interesting, and they have literally cornered me. And been like, hey, we need a session. I'm like, oh, okay.
There you go. There you go. Okay, so I would thank you.
You're welcome.
Almost about to call you Dr. Brian, but
I'm in my doctoral program. I keep skipping it.
But we'd like to always give out emergency hotlines, and we have the 988 hotline. Yes. That's the new, because people don't have time to try to remember all these numbers. We also, on our last session, had the website stopbullying.gov and learning how to identify bullying and standing up to yourself safely.
Okay.
We have the crisis text line. Text home to 741-741. That's open 24/7 for support at your fingertips.
Okay.
So do we have any ending comments?
For me, I would say, if your kids are coming to you, just the fact that they're coming to you is a major deal.
Yep. Well, this has been Young People Nation. And remember, let God let you be the difference in a person's life. And remember, there is always hope.
Let's go. Christ is the foundation. Know his word gon' lead us. Know I'm already going. Taking steps I believe in. Giving guidance to the youth. Giving guidance to the lost. Give the world to the project. Lead them back to the cross. He the #1 prospect. He the top boss. I was broke, I was empty. He the one that paid the cost. Really thought that I was cool. There was nothing like the savior. Now it's time for the truth. The whole world been waiting. It's Young People Nation. 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 The whole world been waiting. Whatever you going through, I know what he gonna do. Don't matter the circumstance, we going back to the root. Keep going. Let that seed keep growing. You need peace and we know it. Now it's time to live holy. Young People Nation. You know what time it is. Young People Nation. Get ready, the time is here. Get ready, we vibing here. We about to let God in here. Young People Nation. It's Young People Nation. Yeah, do it for the heavens, you know where we going. Influenced by his love, you know we gotta show it. It's time to put the youth onto what God is doing. Cause I can tell you now, right now, that God is moving. It's Young People Nation.